A burger and fries used to cost less than a movie ticket. Now it costs more than dinner and a movie combined, and somehow these chains thought you wouldn't notice. We pulled the pricing data, the earnings calls, and the receipts. Customers have been posting online for 2 years straight. 15 restaurant chains priced themselves directly out of their own customer base in 2026, and the math behind each one is more reckless than you'd expect. Let's go. Number 15. Denny's? Denny's built its entire identity on being the place you could always afford, even at 2 in the morning, with nothing but loose change in your pocket. That identity has quietly collapsed. A standard breakfast combo that cost $9 in 2022 now regularly clears $14 in most markets. And the Grand Slam, long the brand's signature symbol of affordable abundance, has crossed $12 in many locations. A regular customer in rural Ohio, reacting to the new pricing, wrote online, "Used to stop there every Sunday after church. Now I'd have to think twice before ordering eggs." The company has closed hundreds of locations through 2025 and into 2026, citing declining customer traffic as the primary driver. But traffic doesn't decline on its own. It declines when the core customer, the budget-conscious diner, who chose Denny's specifically because other restaurants felt out of reach, does the math and realizes Denny's no longer fits that role. The internal logic looked clean on a spreadsheet. Charge more per visit to offset fewer visits overall. The math collapsed in practice because volume dropped faster than the price increases could compensate, and the customers who left didn't come back once they found cheaper breakfast elsewhere. Franchise operators have reported that the late-night crowd, once Denny's most loyal and most reliable customer segment, has been the fastest to disappear, choosing convenience store food or simply skipping the meal entirely rather than paying current prices for a sit-down breakfast at midnight. But Denny's is just the warm-up. The chain at number 14 spent years marketing itself as the people's pizza, then quietly repriced itself out of that exact promise. Number 14. Domino's. Domino's built an empire on one simple promise: fast pizza at a price that made sense for a Tuesday night. That promise is gone. A standard large 2-topping pizza that once anchored Domino's marketing at $5.99 has ballooned past $17 in most markets, before delivery fees, service charges, and tips. A family ordering 2 pizzas, a side and drinks, is routinely looking at a $60 bill for delivery pizza, the exact category of meal customers once chose, specifically because it wasn't a $60 decision. One longtime customer in Atlanta posted a comparison screenshot online with the caption, "My DiGiorno costs $5 and I don't have to tip it." Domino's reported declining order volume through 3 consecutive quarters in 2025, and franchisees have publicly complained that corporate pricing guidance is pushing customers toward frozen grocery alternatives. The delivery fee structure became a particular flashpoint, with fees climbing from $2 to $6, $7, and $8 stacked on top of already elevated menu prices. The carryout option, once a meaningful workaround for price-sensitive customers willing to skip delivery fees entirely, has also lost its appeal as base menu prices climbed independently of the delivery surcharge problem. A franchise owner in suburban Chicago told a trade publication that even customers picking up their own pizza were now hesitating at the register, doing mental math against the frozen aisle before committing to the order. If you're starting to see the pattern here, hit the like button right now. Because these companies made the exact same mistake, again and again, and the next entry made it bigger than almost anyone else on this list. Number 13. Red Robin. Red Robin justified its slightly higher prices for years through one simple deal: bottomless fries and a sit-down experience that felt worth the premium over fast food. Then the company decided the premium wasn't high enough. Average entree prices climbed past $18 in 2025, pushing a basic burger and fries meal above $20 once you add a drink. Customers who chose Red Robin as an affordable step up from fast food suddenly found themselves spending as much as a proper sit-down restaurant with noticeably better food. A former regular in Denver wrote in a review, "Paid steakhouse prices for a burger that came out lukewarm. Won't be back." Red Robin closed over 40 locations in 2025 and announced further closures heading into 2026. Same-store sales declined for 6 consecutive quarters, and a new executive team brought in to address the crisis publicly acknowledged that pricing had moved beyond what the brand's perceived quality could support. The bottomless fries promise, once the entire reason families chose Red Robin over a competing chain, has also quietly become less bottomless in practice. Multiple customers across review platforms reported servers being noticeably slower to offer refills in 2025 compared to prior years, a subtle service change that many attributed to cost-cutting pressure, even though the company never formally announced any policy shift. But Red Robin still has a dining room in most of its markets. What's happening at number 12 has emptied out entire suburban locations. Number 12. TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays spent decades as the reliable anchor of American strip malls and airport terminals. By 2025, that reliability had a steep cover charge attached to it. The chain filed for bankruptcy in late 2024, closing over 80 locations in the process, and pricing strategy sat at the center of the collapse. TGI Fridays had raised prices consistently through 2023 and 2024, while simultaneously shrinking portion sizes, a combination customers experience as a double betrayal. A Jack Daniel's ribs entree that had been a signature affordable indulgence at around $16 crossed $24. Appetizers crossed $14. A former server in New Jersey whose location closed in late 2024 told a local outlet, "Watch the portions get smaller every few months." Customers noticed before management did. Price increases customers can rationalize. Smaller portions they can accept, both at the same time, while also being charged for items that were previously complimentary, destroyed the trust TGI Fridays had spent decades building. The happy hour program, once one of the chain's most consistent traffic drivers, was also quietly scaled back in many markets, with shorter windows and fewer discounted items than the version customers remembered from just a few years earlier. For a brand whose entire cultural identity was built around the phrase, "Thank God it's Friday," removing the affordability from the Friday night experience struck many longtime customers as a contradiction the company never adequately addressed. And if you thought TGI Fridays losing the plot was painful, wait until you hear what number 11 did to the people who relied on it for lunch every single day. Number 11. Panera Bread. Panera built a loyal customer base among office workers, students, and health-conscious diners who saw it as a reasonable middle ground between fast food and full-service dining. That narrative fractured badly between 2024 and 2026. A standard Panera bowl priced around $10 in 2021 crossed $15 in many markets by 2025. The You Pick Two combo, which felt like a deal under $12, stopped feeling like a deal once it crossed $16. Panera's own loyalty program data showed a sharp decline in visit frequency among its core repeat customers. These weren't customers who left for competitors. They started bringing lunch from home instead. One former regular, posting in a local subreddit, wrote, "I do the math now, before I order. I never used to do that at Panera." The company closed dozens of locations in 2025 and announced a pricing review that acknowledged, in corporate language, that value perception had eroded. In plain language, they charged too much, and people stopped showing up. The unlimited Sip Club subscription, which had been positioned as a value anchor for the chain's coffee and beverage business, also faced criticism in 2025 after the company adjusted the terms in ways that reduced perceived value for existing subscribers. Customers who had signed up specifically for the unlimited refill model felt the adjustment as another instance of the company quietly taking something away rather than adding value. But Panera's mistake was gradual. What number 10 did was sudden, deliberate, and almost contemptuous of its own loyal customers. Number 10. Applebee's? Applebee's exists in a specific and important niche: the neighborhood restaurant for people who want a sit-down meal without a special occasion price tag. That positioning was the entire brand, and the company dismantled it anyway. The 2 for $4.20 deal, a marketing cornerstone, and a genuine traffic driver for years, was quietly retired in many markets and replaced with pricing that put the same meal closer to $32. Customers who had built dining habits around that deal felt specifically deceived when it disappeared. A regular customer in Cincinnati wrote online, "That deal was the reason I went every other Friday. Now I don't go at all." Applebee's reported same-store sales declines through most of 2025, with franchisees reporting double-digit percentage declines in dinner covers during what should have been peak evening hours. The chain launched a public campaign in late 2025, acknowledging the pricing issue and promising a return to value, a campaign that generated media coverage and almost no measurable traffic recovery. Pause. Late night and barside promotions, another historically strong traffic driver for Applebee's, also saw reduced investment through 2025, according to multiple franchisee accounts shared with restaurant trade press. The combination of a retired flagship value deal and quietly scaled-back secondary promotions left the brand with almost no remaining reason for a price-conscious customer to choose Applebee's. Over a growing list of competitors offering comparable or better value. What's worse is that number 9 broke trust the same way, but added something extra. It made the price hike feel like it was somehow your fault. Number 9. Olive Garden. Olive Garden is the most visited casual Italian chain in America. Built on one idea: come in hungry, eat until you're genuinely full, and leave without financial damage. That idea was the product as much as the food was. By 2025, the never-ending pasta bowl had crossed $23. The Tour of Italy entree was pushing $28. A family of 4 ordering drinks, a shared appetizer, entrees, and dessert was looking at a pre-tip total well above $120. At Olive Garden, a longtime customer in Phoenix posted a receipt online with the caption, "This used to be the cheap night out. What happened?" Darden Restaurants. Olive Garden's parent company reported declining traffic through multiple quarters of 2025, even as revenue briefly held up due to higher per-check averages. That's the warning sign management initially missed. When revenue holds, but customer count drops, you haven't solved anything. You've borrowed time. Darden's own annual report acknowledged that Olive Garden experienced meaningful traffic declines concentrated among lower and middle-income customer segments, exactly the segment the brand was built to serve. The free breadsticks, long the most beloved and most heavily marketed symbol of Olive Garden's generosity, have also drawn scrutiny, with several customers reporting smaller basket sizes and more reluctant refills than in years past. For a promotional symbol that cost the company almost nothing relative to its marketing value, the perceived shrinkage became an oddly potent flashpoint in the broader value conversation surrounding the brand. But at least Olive Garden's price hike was applied evenly. What number 8 did was surgically targeted at the people who could least afford to push back. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what we're about to expose in the next 7 entries gets significantly worse. Number 8. IHOP. IHOP is a breakfast and brunch institution, pancakes stacked high. A place families went specifically because it was fun, generous, and affordable. The International House of Pancakes repriced itself into the International House of Second Thoughts. A standard breakfast combo cost $15 in most markets by late 2025. A short stack of pancakes, which should be the most defensible value item on any breakfast menu, was approaching $9 as a standalone item. A family of 4 having weekend breakfast was clearing $60 before tip. At a restaurant that built its entire culture around the idea that pancakes were for everyone. A mother in Texas wrote in a Facebook comment thread, "Took my 3 kids for pancakes, walked out, having spent more than a sit-down dinner would have cost." IHOP parent company, Dine Brands, reported declining traffic through 2025 and into 2026, closed locations in multiple markets, and a senior executive publicly acknowledged the brand had drifted from its core value positioning. Drifted is a gentle word for what actually happened. And if IHOP's numbers were painful, what number 7 walked into was a full public relations catastrophe that played out in real time on social media. Number 7. Starbucks. Starbucks isn't a restaurant in the traditional sense, but when a customized drink order regularly crosses $9 and $10, it functions as a meal replacement in many people's budgets. The consumer response to Starbucks pricing in 2025 and 2026 became one of the most dramatic brand trust collapses in recent food service history. A standard grande latte crossed $6 in most markets in 2025. A customized cold brew with additions, the kind of order that became the default for millions of younger customers, was regularly hitting $9 and $10. Customers began doing that math explicitly, out loud, on social media. One viral post read simply, "I was spending $45 a week at Starbucks and didn't even notice until I added it up." Starbucks reported its worst quarterly performance in years through 2025, with transaction counts declining even as average ticket size held or grew. The company brought in a new chief executive who publicly committed to a return to simplicity and value, simplifying the menu and rolling back prices on select core items. The customization fee structure, where each additional pump of syrup, milk substitute, or specialty topping carries its own incremental charge, also became a specific target of customer frustration in 2025. Several viral posts broke down a single drink order into its component charges, showing customers exactly how a $6 base latte became a $10 final total through a series of individually small but cumulatively significant add-on fees. Starbucks thought its brand was strong enough to hold at any price. It wasn't. No brand is. And the chain at number 6 thought the exact same thing with remarkably similar results. Number 6. Chipotle. Chipotle spent years justifying price increases through its food with integrity narrative, a burrito worth paying more for because of what was in it and where it came from. By 2025, that narrative had been stretched further than it could hold. A standard Chipotle burrito with protein crossed $12 in most markets. With a drink and chips, a single meal regularly cleared $16 to $17. For a counter-service restaurant where you carry your own tray and clean up after yourself. A customer in Los Angeles posted a side-by-side comparison online with the caption, "My Chipotle order costs more than a sit-down taco plate 2 blocks away." Chipotle reported declining transaction volumes in multiple quarters of 2025, and the company acknowledged in earnings calls that lower-income customers had meaningfully reduced visit frequency. Portion size complaints amplified the backlash, with social media flooded with side-by-side comparisons showing measurable reductions in bowl and burrito filling over the years. The extra protein and guacamole surcharges, long a source of quiet customer frustration, became a more prominent flashpoint in 2025 as the base price of the burrito itself climbed independently. What had once felt like a reasonable add-on charge on a moderately priced meal began to feel, to many customers, like a second tax layered on top of a first one, particularly when guacamole alone could add several dollars to an already expensive order. But Chipotle's mistake was at least organic to their growth story. What number 5 did was calculated, and the calculation was wrong in a way that should embarrass their entire executive team. Number 5. McDonald's. McDonald's is the most important data point on this entire list, because if the pricing miscalculation can happen at McDonald's, it can happen anywhere. The McDonald's value menu, which anchored the brand's accessibility promise for decades, effectively dissolved between 2023 and 2025. Items that had been $1 became $3 and $4. A Big Mac meal that had been under $6 in most markets crossed $10, then $11, then approached $13 in high-cost cities. A McDonald's visit for a family of 4 was clearing $45 to $50. The reaction was seismic. A viral moment in early 2025, when a customer posted a receipt showing a Big Mac combo at nearly $19 in a Connecticut location, generated tens of millions of views and a news cycle that lasted weeks. McDonald's became a symbol of inflation overreach in popular culture. One commenter on the viral post wrote, "If McDonald's isn't cheap anymore, what's even the point of McDonald's?" McDonald's reported its first year-over-year decline in U.S. transaction volume in over a decade in 2025, The company responded with a limited-time, $5 value meal promotion that generated significant media coverage, but modest, temporary traffic recovery. Franchises in several markets reported that the promotion, while popular, was structured in a way that compressed their own margins so severely that some operators privately lobbied corporate to end it earlier than planned, a detail that underscores just how little room the system had left to absorb a genuine return to affordability. What number 4 did is somehow more tone-deaf than even this. Number 4. Chili's. Here's the twist. Chili's actually did the opposite of most chains on this list, and it worked spectacularly, which makes what happened to its direct competitors even more instructive. While every other casual dining chain raised prices, Chili's moved in the other direction in 2024 and 2025. The chain introduced a $10.99 three-item lunch deal and an aggressively priced burger and drink combo. Traffic surged. Chili's reported same-store sales increases among the strongest in the entire casual dining segment, gaining meaningful market share directly from the brands above it on this list. A customer who switched from a competitor wrote in a review, "Same kind of food, half the price, twice the portion. Why would I go anywhere else?" The lesson Chili's demonstrated is the lesson every other chain refused to learn. Customers didn't stop wanting to eat out. They stopped being willing to pay prices that felt exploitative. When a brand offered genuine value, customers responded immediately and in large numbers. Chili's leadership has been notably public about the strategy, with executives stating directly in earnings calls that the company viewed value pricing as a long-term traffic investment rather than a short-term promotional gimmick, a framing distinctly different from the temporary value meal promotions other chains on this list rolled out and then quietly let expire. Chili's is on this list, not as a cautionary tale, but as proof that the playbook was available the entire time. The chain at number 3 watched Chili's succeed and raised prices anyway. Number 3. Outback Steakhouse. Outback Steakhouse built its brand on generous, unpretentious steakhouse food at prices that didn't require a special occasion. By 2025, the price weight had grown considerably heavier than the brand promise could support. A standard sirloin entree cost $26. A bloomin' onion appetizer, once a shareable, affordable indulgence, cost $11. A couple sharing an appetizer, ordering entrees and having drinks, was clearing $75 before tip. At Outback, a regular customer in Tampa wrote on social media, "Used to be our monthly treat. Now, it's our once-a-year splurge. And honestly, it's not worth it even then." Outback's parent company, Bloomin' Brands, reported significant traffic declines through 2025, announced location closures, and acknowledged in investor communications that the casual dining segment had become structurally challenged by price increases implemented across the segment simultaneously. But the most painful entries on this list aren't the ones that lost customer traffic. They're the ones that lost something permanent. And number 2, lost something it may genuinely never recover. Number 2. Red Lobster. Red Lobster's collapse between 2024 and 2026 is one of the most dramatic brand destructions in American restaurant history, and the pricing miscalculation at the center of it is a case study business schools will be using for the next 20 years. Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy in 2024, partly due to an endless shrimp promotion that reportedly cost the company $11 million in a single quarter. But the endless shrimp disaster was a symptom of a deeper problem, not the cause. Red Lobster had spent years raising prices on its core menu, while the regular customers, the ones who came for celebratory seafood dinners at prices that felt premium but achievable, had been quietly leaving for years as prices pushed toward fine dining territory without fine dining quality or service to match. A lobster tail entree that had been attainable at $22 moved past $34. A seafood platter that had been a family celebration centerpiece cost $40. A former regular customer in Florida wrote, "I used to take my mom there for her birthday every year. Last time, the bill made me feel sick before the food even arrived." Hundreds of locations closed through 2024 and into 2025. Thousands of employees lost jobs. A brand that had been part of American dining culture for over 5 decades was dismantled. largely because of pricing decisions made by people who hadn't eaten at a Red Lobster with a tight budget in a very long time. And yet, even this isn't the most instructive failure on this list. Number 1 is a brand so dominant, so embedded in American daily life, that watching it stumble on price is like watching a skyscraper develop a lean, subtle, then impossible to ignore. Number 1, Subway. Subway has more locations in the United States than any other restaurant chain. For decades, the $5 footlong wasn't just a promotion, it was a cultural reference point, a unit of value so well understood, it became a meme, a joke, a shared touchstone. You knew what a Subway sandwich cost. That certainty was the product. By 2025, a standard footlong had crossed $12 in most markets. In high-cost cities, basic footlongs were approaching $15 and $16. The $5 footlong was so far in the rearview mirror that the chain stopped referencing it entirely, as though hoping customers would forget. They did not forget. A longtime customer in Portland wrote in a review that captured the sentiment perfectly. "I remember when this was the cheap lunch option. Now it's the lunch option I have to budget for." Subway reported declining U.S. location count through 2024 and 2025, with net closures exceeding new openings for consecutive years. Franchises, who operate the vast majority of Subway locations, publicly and repeatedly raised concerns that menu pricing had crossed the threshold where the chain's value positioning was no longer credible. When your own franchisees are telling you the price is too high, the price is too high. The specific betrayal customers felt with Subway was tied to the explicitness of the original promise. The $5 footlong was a number, a hard commitment, a price customers remembered precisely because it was marketed so aggressively for so long. When that price more than doubled, the betrayal wasn't abstract, it was arithmetic. Customers could calculate exactly how badly the promise had been broken. Subway has attempted various promotional responses, including limited value offers and loyalty program pricing. Each promotion generates a short-term traffic bump followed by a return to the declining baseline. The chain hasn't found a way to restore the core value credibility that the $5 footlong represented, because it can't price the footlong at $5 anymore. That world is gone. And without a new value anchor as clear and as credible as the one it abandoned, Subway is navigating without the compass that made it the most visited restaurant in America. The lesson across all 15 of these chains is the same. Customers aren't irrational. They don't leave out of spite or nostalgia. They leave when the math stops working. And when they build new habits without you, the price reduction that finally comes is too late to matter. Thanks for watching. If this breakdown hit close to home, let us know in the comments which price hike got to you the most. Want to see which chains are actually winning? The value war in 2026 and growing while everyone else shrinks? Click on the video on the left and I'll meet you there.